Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be filming a tutorial on how to get this blue gold smoky halo eye. So if you want to see how I got this look, keep watching.
I'm going to start with using the Marc Jacobs Covert Affairs color correcting stick, and it's in a green shade. You can't really tell on camera, but I like to put that on my cheeks, anywhere I've had past breakouts, and just really anywhere where I have redness, and then I'm going to blend that in with a Real Technique brush. And then for primer, I'm going to be using the Becca Backlight priming filter. I just squirt about 2 pumps into my hand and then rub it all over my face. This is my go-to primer, and it just makes my skin look very radiant before applying my foundation. And for foundation, I am using the Josie Maran Vibrancy Foundation Fluid. I am in the shade Euphoric. This foundation is very lightweight and the coverage is very buildable. So in places where I need a little more help, I just add some more foundation, and it never looks cakey, and the finish is so beautiful. It's very natural and radiant. And to blend it in, I am using a Morphe M439 brush. If you'd like to see a video on my favorite Morphe brushes, just let me know. Morphe has a ton of great brushes and they're so low priced and the quality is awesome. And next for concealer, I'm going to be going in with the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Vanilla. This is one of my favorite concealers to use. I'm going to be putting that underneath my under eyes to cover up any bags or dark circles. And then I'll put it in the center of my forehead, the bridge of my nose, and my chin just to highlight those areas. To blend all that in, I'm going to be using a damp beauty sponge, and for this you can use any beauty sponge, it doesn't really matter, but just make sure that when you're blending it in that you're dabbing and not rubbing so you're not messing up your layer of foundation. To set my under eyes, I am using the RCMA No Color Powder. It's actually just in the Laura Mercier packaging because the RCMA powder comes in a really weird bottle and it's really easy to waste product if you don't move it into something different. And I'm just going to pat that into my under eyes and onto my eyelid. And then to set the rest of my face, I'm using the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Medium Plus. This powder has a really nice sheen to it. It's not glittery, it's not sparkly, but it just gives you a nice glow instead of using a matte powder. And then the brush I'm using is just the IT Cosmetics powder brush, but you can use any big fluffy brush to set your face. Using the same damp beauty sponge that I used to blend out my concealer, I'm going to be picking up some of the translucent powder and baking it underneath my eyes to catch any fallout from the eyeshadow that I'm going to be using. And for today's look, I'm going to be using the Beauty Killer palette by Jeffree Star Cosmetics and the Masquerade palette from Juvia's Place. First, I'm going to be grabbing the shade Expensive from the Beauty Killer palette, and I'm going to apply this using a tapered blending brush. The shade is a very pretty sparkly blue, and I'm just going to be keeping this on the outer V and then eventually in the inner corner. Since we're doing a halo eye, you don't want any shadow in the middle of the lid since I'm going to be going in with a different color here in a little bit. And you also don't want to blend this too high up into your crease. You want to keep it tight and on your eyelid. And then I'm going to be using the shade Zola from the Masquerade palette, and I'm just going to put this directly over the first shade used just to kind of brighten up the shadow. Next, I'm going to be picking up a fluffy blending brush, and I'm just going to move that back and forth in my crease to make sure I don't have any harsh lines. When you're using vibrant colors, it's really easy to develop harsh lines, so I always just go over with a blending brush to make sure everything's nice and blended. Then I'm going to spray my brush with some MAC Fix Plus. I do this a lot before I use any shimmery shadow just because it makes it look a lot more metallic. And I'm going to be using a flat brush to pick up the shade Rich Bitch from the Beauty Killer palette. It's just a metallic gold shade, and I'm going to be putting this on directly on the center of the lid in between the two areas of blue. Then I'm going to pick up the same brush that I started out with just to blend the edges to make sure everything flows. Then I'm going to go over the golden eyeshadow with the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter Liner in the shade Midnight Cowboy. It's just a gold glitter. And once again, I'm going to go over the edges again with the blending brush to make sure that there's no harsh lines and that everything is well blended. For my lower lash line, I am going to create a halo effect just like I did on my eyelid, and with the blue shadow, I'm going to pack that on the inner and outer corner, leaving the middle open. And then with the heavy metal glitter liner, I'm going to put that in the center of the bottom lash line. To contour, I'm going to be using the Physician Formula's Butter Bronzer and a Morphe fan brush. I like to use a fan brush when I contour just because it gives you a chiseled out look a lot easier than it would using any other contour brush. And then I'm going to bake underneath where I contoured just to clean up any area where bronzer might have gotten a little messy, and it just makes it look a lot sharper. And then to bronze my forehead, I am using the Benefit Hoola Bronzer. This is such a great bronzer to have. It's very universal and it's matte and cool toned. It's just a really good go-to bronzer. And I'm just going to put that around my hairline and the outer edges of my face. To highlight my face, I am going to use the Nicole Guerriero and Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit in the shade Forever Young. This is an awesome highlighting palette to have. If you don't own it already, you should definitely go out and get it. And then I'm going to top that with a little bit of champagne pop. And I'm also going to put champagne pop on the bridge of my nose and on my Cupid's bow. And for blush, I'm using a Becca Mineral Blush in the shade Wild Honey. It's just a bronzy blush. That's always one of my go-to colors. And then after applying that, I'm going to take my powder brush and dust away the translucent powder from where I was baking. And then using a Real Techniques buffing brush, I'm just going to buff out the contour line just to make sure it doesn't look that harsh. And next I'm going to highlight my brow bone using the shade Forever Lit from the Anastasia Glow Kit. And before putting on false lashes, I'm going to give my natural lashes a thin coat of mascara. And then I'm actually going to apply my lashes off camera. There's nothing really entertaining about watching somebody put on falsies, and I need to be like really close and personal with my mirror to get those on right. And after applying my lashes, I'm going to line my lips using a MAC lip pencil in the shade Whirl. I'm actually going to put this all over my lip because I'm not going to wear lipstick. I'm actually just going to put a gloss on over top of this. The gloss I'm using is a Buxom gloss in the shade Sandy. Their lip glosses are so good, and of course I picked a pinky nude. It's one of my favorite colors. Pretty much all the glosses I wear are some shade of a nude. And now that I'm all finished, I'm going to spray my face with some MAC Fix Plus just to set everything and make sure it stays in place all day.
So this is the final look. If you have any ideas for anything you'd like to see in the future from me, please leave any ideas you have in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.